Okay, great, thanks.
Chris, are you there? All right, well, if we don't have a Chris, do you want to do the hard motions? All right. Okay. Just wait for Craig to. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Newtown Borough Council meeting of October 15th, 2025. Please stand and join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we move on to public to be heard, I just want to give a warm welcome to former Councilwoman Mary Ellen Raymond, who's visiting with us tonight. We miss you. Thanks for coming to visit. Okay, so we'll move on to public to be heard. As a reminder, please state your name and whether or not you are a borough resident, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Do we have any public to be heard?
Hi,
Hi, welcome.
Chris Gusty, 7 South Chancellor Street, Newtown Borough. My comments are for the record, and I'll give Judy a copy when I'm done here. I'm here to respond to comments made at the Borough Council work session on October 8th, where the President of Council, referencing the Sewer Authority board members, stated, and I quote, "We have been begging our current board members to give us updates on what's going on, and they refused." I'm not sure what your definition of begging is, but I would hardly consider 2 emails from the borough manager, the first of which on July 8th was too early to respond to about August availability, and the second on July 22nd, to which I responded to within 48 hours, as begging. My response on July 24th contained a question asking, please advise council what council would like a brief report on. To date, there has been no reply to that email. You will also recall the authority manager, who is far more knowledgeable than any board member, was readily available. For some reason, council did not want to talk to him. Sewer Authority board members, including me and Bob Walker, our treasurer, did attend meetings with Borough Council in which our managers and engineers made presentations discussing the proposed wastewater treatment plant. Communications with Borough Council began with a Zoom call with DEP on February 9th, 2023, that was attended by Tara, Ms. Hines, and Mary Ellen Raymond. A list of communication between council and the Sewer Authority board since that February 2023 call is attached. Tara was engaged in the wastewater treatment process from the beginning, and that engagement ended when her term as president council ended. I've attended an estimated 90 to 100 Sewer Authority meetings in my 9 years on the board. During that time, I do not recall a member of council ever attending a Sewer Authority meeting until last year, nor do I recall any member of the current council ever contacting me directly. Every member of council knows how to reach me, whether by email, phone, or even in person, as most of you know where I live, often seeing me in my yard and or having been in my home on multiple occasions. The lack of action by council members does not support the comments made by several of you during multiple work sessions. I make no apology for having other priorities that conflict with the 1 day per month when the work session meets. As I stated in my email, I cannot make the August or September meeting, but I will try to make October if I am available. I was not available. The next statement, referencing elected officials serving on the Sewer Authority was, and I quote, "I think it's a conflict of interest, but we need to know what's going on to make sure the borough is represented the way we want it represented." Regarding the comment about conflict of interest in township representation, some clarification is warranted. The township supervisors also apparently recognize a potential conflict, and Ellen Snyder announced at a public meeting that she will be stepping down from the Sewer Authority at the end of her term, which is December 31st, 2025. Dennis Fisher currently serves on both, as he was recently appointed to fill a Sewer Authority seat. However, he and the other supervisors knew the overlap would only be for a few months, as his term as a supervisor ends this year. As for the comment about making sure the borough is represented the way council wants it represented, that will never be my approach. I do not volunteer my time to represent council's interests. I serve to represent all borough residents, and I make every decision based on what I believe is in their best interest, as I always have. I do not and will not serve to represent council the way they want to be represented. Based on the tone of recent comments, timing of emails, and lack of communication from council, it appears to me, right or wrong, that there's a behind-the-scenes effort by Julia Waldorf to secure a position on the sewer board and extend her influence in borough affairs. While I appreciate her and all members of Borough Council's service to the community, I urge you to recall what happened when a council vacancy arose a few years ago. Despite Mrs. Waldorf's applying for that seat, the 4 members of council that voted, all from her political party, and 3 of whom who served with her on council, chose to support another candidate. In my opinion, she is not a good fit for the Sewer Authority Board. As you consider future appointments, please reflect how your actions tonight will affect volunteer engagements going forward. If qualified residents believe political motives outweigh merit, fewer will step forward to serve. I strongly encourage council to remove politics from volunteer boards and focus solely on who will serve in the borough's best interest. The correct person for the open sewer authority position is, quite simply, the individual the president of council referred to as, quote, very well suited for this, and that's John Duggan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additional public to be heard?
Hello, and thank you for letting me express my serious concerns with you. I have been a Newtown Borough resident for over 22 years, and this is the first time I have been motivated to express my dissatisfaction to Borough Council. I feel there are areas that have been badly mismanaged and need to be addressed on the record. My first area of concern has to do with snow removal. There was a marked difference between snow removal this year and previous years, and between our streets and those around us. Snow removal was sloppy and very unsafe for both pedestrians and vehicles. I believe our leadership dangerously mismanaged that responsibility, and ultimately you on Borough Council need to be made accountable for that failure. My second area of concern has to do with PECO's utility pole replacement project in town. After leaving a pole along our hedge for months and narrowing our front sidewalk, they subsequently installed this new utility pole right in the middle of our sidewalk next to, while not removing, the existing pole. This narrows the path so that pedestrians, pushchairs, and wheelchairs may be forced off the bluestone to get by. Even if the old pole does get removed, the new pole permanently narrows the path. The fine for failure to remove such an obstruction was made clear to us, namely $1,000 a day. Is Borough Council holding PECO accountable for impeding the sidewalk? I'm not sure how much planning or oversight went into all this. PECO also trimmed packed some upper branches of our tree to clear the power lines. Unfortunately, they just left the cut branches hanging in the tree rather than safely removing them. We do not have the means to raise a ladder into and around the power lines to remove these branches before they get blown down. Who is holding PECO accountable when the branches fall down onto the sidewalk or a passing pedestrian? Ultimately, I expect that Borough Council takes responsibility to ensure the quality of work being done. Finally, State Street has become unsightly. The trees are dying and there are many weeds growing up. This is a far cry from how things appeared not too long ago when Ron Festmeyer was doing the job. There are also areas where blacktop was used to patch the sidewalk, which is not among the approved surfaces according to borough ordinance. Ultimately, Borough Council must be held accountable for this failure. Thank you for your consideration.
Can you please state your name just so we have it for the record? I'm sure Judy knows it. but-
Susan Guy.
Thank you, Susan. And before you leave tonight, can you please make sure that Judy and/or Craig has your address? Because I am concerned about the safety issue for you and anyone using the sidewalk with the dangling branches. So that's something I think we need to follow up with PECO on.
She is my next door neighbor, so
Oh,
I
okay.
got it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.
My name is Douglas Turner. I live at 113 Penn Street. I'd like to complain about three things. One is street signs. Dozens of them are leaning over. Hardly any of them stand straight up. And when I got a hold of someone about that, a borough officer, they said, I got to have addresses. Well, we don't live in Manhattan. This is a very small town. You could walk the streets in a couple of hours and make a note of all of those signs and fix them. They look shabby. And I've talked to people who've lived here many, many years, like 50 years. Well, I've only been here 12 years. And they say that the town is getting shabbier and shabbier all the time, and that's one example. The next example is utility lines. They, at the bottom of Mercer Street, where it hits State Street, you'll see there's a big old box hanging on a pole there. It's been there for 12 years, and no one wants to remove it. No one, when I complain about it, knows whose it is or what it is. It's just still there. And we've got other utility lines hanging off the poles and rolled up on the ground. It's just more shabbiness. As we grow in age here, the town gets shabbier and shabbier. The last thing is the trees, like Susan was talking about. I'm a forester, and I've been a forester all my life, and one thing none of us know is when they're going to fall over. In 1962, there was a great windstorm in Northern California, and many, many trees fell over in the woods. But at my house, there was a big sugar pine with a burned out bottom, and I just knew it was going to fall over before I got home, and it's still there. So we don't know when they're going to fall over. The shade trees that are in front of the Starbucks and the hardware store, and those on Court Street give us beauty, they give us color, they give us cold air, they give us oxygen. That's all nice, but they also give us the option of death or injury when they fall. I walked down Court Street one day about a year and a half ago. There was a huge limb there. It was about 12 feet long, had about a 6-inch diameter where it had broken off the tree, and it was full of leaves. It was alive, but it fell off the tree. What I suggest is you get rid of those things and go to an arboretum and buy some good safety native trees that are just 10 feet tall, and you keep them for a few years, because those things are going to get somebody. And in the end, it's going to be the town that has to pay for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Any additional public to be heard?
Ladies and gentlemen, voting here for the first time in 2003, I remember how Dave and Mary Callahan at their political party table at the polling station recommended me to vote for a candidate from the opposing party because she was a good person. Party affiliation should be irrelevant at the local level. Yet some 8 years later, as elected constable for Ward 2, I was being shouted at by the wife of a borough council member because she thought the other party's signs were too close to the polling station door. That experience led me to redirect my public service efforts elsewhere, namely back into the Army Reserve, where one's own judgment and ability to prioritize are rightly held to a higher standard. I appear before you today for the first time in so many years because I can no longer sit on the sidelines and watch when management of our town is so clearly moving in the wrong direction. I consider many of you my friends, and the rest of you are my neighbors. So I urge you all to take what I say to heart in that same spirit. It's time that you were held to account for pursuing unwanted pet projects instead of the essential duties for which you were elected. Among all your bad decisions and misdirected priorities, the failure to ensure safe winter streets was your most serious lapse. Was that because you wasted borough resources to purchase private property for a park that no one wanted or ever uses? Then there followed a series of restrictions on open containers, food trucks, and single-use plastics, maybe more that I don't know about. I find it hard to believe that there are not enough ordinances already on the books to address these underlying problems. But instead of focusing on root causes, your first reflex was to make more rules and put the burden of enforcement on others rather than fostering neighborly compliance. We recently experienced that negative mindset when receiving a certified letter from Borough Code Enforcement threatening $1,000 a day fine for non-compliance when a simple call would have been more than sufficient. We're a town of 2,500 odd people. We're neighbors. Meanwhile, PECO just installed a new utility pole that obstructs the sidewalk far more than our hedge has ever done, even when it's grown a lot. Are they getting that same letter? Are they getting that same treatment? The list continues. Threatening to withhold the permit for the holiday parade is downright irresponsible, especially after losing event after event to the township. Remember when we used to have an Independence Day parade with kids decorating their bikes? That was a victim of similar petty party politics. Like many, I'm appalled by the degradation of our town streetscape through neglect of maintenance and vandalization by utilities. Word is that a ban on gas-powered lawn equipment will be forthcoming next year, validated by a poorly distributed survey that was blatantly designed to supply the correct answers. Watching this council in action, one gets the feeling you find more satisfaction in the theater of governance than in producing actual results for Newtown Borough. You appear to relish the long meetings and the comfort of voting together as a block, all the while creating new restrictions on anything you don't particularly like or care about yourselves. As George Patton once said, when everybody's thinking the same, no one's thinking. You've built a classic self-licking ice cream cone, a system designed to expand your own workload, drive away well-intentioned volunteers, like Chris just said, and justify the great public expense of a borough manager to do the job for which you volunteered. While you're busy with this process, the real needs of Newtown Borough go neglected. The reason you are here is not to create more ordinances, it is to deliver results. It's for ensuring safe streets in winter. It's for safeguarding traditions like our parades. It's for supporting a thriving and well-maintained State Street, attracting both visitors and successful businesses. It's for a town that serves its residents, not a council that serves itself and its political allies. It's time to stop managing and start leading. Newtown Borough deserves and expects better. As I told Chris Bauman a couple weeks ago, not good enough. John Guy, 110 South Congress Street.
Thank you very much. Do we have any additional public to be heard? Please come on up.
My name is Arthur Rogers. I live at 115 South Congress Street, right across the street from John and Susan. Susan was way too polite in talking about what Pico's contractor, their subcontractor, did to that tree. They hacked that thing up. I was an elevator constructor for 42 years. I rigged heavier and more awkward equipment than a telephone pole. Watching them do that job, I was surprised nobody got hurt in that thing. They must have had a brand-new guy doing it on his own. The point is that they hacked that tree up and left those dead branches in the tree over top of the sidewalk. You can come look from my porch and see, John can't see it standing under the tree, what they did to his tree. The branches are, a good wind, like they said, is going to blow those branches right down on people, and they're going to be responsible for it, unfortunately. They had 3 telephone poles laying on the sidewalk at the bottom of their hedges for months. John talked about people in wheelchairs and I see people in strollers. And I watched people pushing strollers that had to walk out into the street off of the sidewalk so that they could get past those poles where they laid there for all that time. Now, once that debacle was over with, they had their next contractor come in, or subcontractor, a company called Intren. They were going around cutting down branches higher up above power lines. John works, I'm retired, so I watched them go down Mercer Street and cut more branches off and leave them in his yard and leave some of that debris in the street across from your side entrance, Judy. It was just watching them. Now we have the people that have Penn Street blocked from Court all the way to Chancellor with signs up saying they're going to have that street blocked from October the 10th to December the 10th, working 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. They have their signs up. They leave their signs on our sidewalk. And last night, they left their sign up and their base for that sign in the Pat Cassandra of the Musto's house overnight. So something needs to be done with these general contractors, or subcontractors, I guess, that are doing this work around the borough. They need to clean up after themselves and put their debris away. The signs going down Penn Street now, after the big windstorm we had, they had paper signs on there. Well, they're all blown away now. So nobody knows the pedestals or the horses are there that had their white signs on them, no parking from October the 10th to December the 10th, 7:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. They're all gone now. Those signs are all blown away. Now, I didn't go down there today to see if they were put back on again, but just the work that they're doing, you can't get around. We've lived in this house since 1975. We've been in the borough since 74. So you can't get anywhere around Newtown now without being detoured all around to try and get back to our street. And I can't go down to Penn Street now because they have the sign right at the corner of Mercer and South Congress Street blocking traffic going down there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we take more public to be heard, Judy, can you I'm having a hard time seeing people because the lights are so bright on our face. Can you turn them down a little bit, the spotlights? Thank you. Do we have any additional public to be heard? Please come on up.
The dimmer's over here.
Over here.
No. Judy, the dimmer's here. There.
Oh, that's better. Is that okay with everyone? Can you all still see? Okay. Now I can see you. Hi, Laura.
Hi. Laura Shepard, 501 Washington Avenue. Just 2 comments. One is, as we have increased the number of drinking establishments that are along State Street, I've noticed that there is a pretty heavy increase of litter in the form of cigarette butts. And I've been meaning to bring this up in the past, but I think it was especially concerning when I was helping with the Halloween painting, and had to go home and get a broom and sweep up around the windows where the kids were on South State Street near Triple Sun, because there were just so many cigarette butts around. So it seems to be right outside the drinking establishments, but then a couple of doors down to the right and a couple of doors down to the left. So I guess my question or comment is do we have any kind of, guidance for these business owners that it's their responsibility to clean up the litter that is, caused by their patrons? Or is it something that the town is responsible for? But it's something that definitely needs attention, because it's very, very evident as you walk down State Street near those establishments. Second comment was just sort of, was reminded about as there was so much discussion about PICO. We have some wires outside of our house that are so low I feel like I could, reach up and touch them and swing from them. We called PICO thinking it was something that they had just installed and that they just kind of did it incorrectly because it was hanging so low. So they came out and told us it was Verizon's wires. And so I guess my comment and question is there any guidance that they have from anyone on council or town manager as to how the Verizon wires need to be installed so that they're not hanging so low? And according to PICO, it's a problem throughout the borough, but again, I don't know if there was any guidelines given to them, but just bringing that to your attention. They're very, very low wires from Verizon. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Any additional public to be heard? Okay. Chris, are you with us? All right, then Julia, would you like to take care of the certificates of appropriateness, please?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to follow the recommendations of the Historic Architectural Review Board and direct the President of Council to sign the following certificates of appropriateness, thereby approving the historical appropriateness of the applications with final approval by the Code Enforcement Officer. COA 2025-034, applicant Don Marshall, 221 South Chancellor Street, for residence. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of the existing front porch roof. HARB recommended approval of the application as submitted. COA 2025-035, applicant Joseph Wife, 220 East Washington Avenue, residence. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a new 4-foot wrought iron fence with iron posts at the corners and 3 gates. HARB recommended approval of the application as submitted. COA 2025-038, applicant Alejandra Alvarez, 154 North Congress Street, a residence. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to relocate the front door and construct new steps to the door. HARB recommended to approve moving the side door to the front with the following changes. The door will be wood, with the lower section paneled and the upper section with a single or multiple 2 or 4 lights. The door casing will be 5/4. The steps will have a concrete base topped with a flagstone, blue or slate, and the existing door opening will be infilled with a window that matches the window in the same section, and the rest of the opening will be enclosed with the siding previously approved. COA 2025-039, applicant Frank Pasquale, 203 Washington Avenue, residence. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to replace the garage roof. HARB recommended approval of the application as submitted. COA 2025-024, applicant Laura Shepard, 501 Washington Avenue, residence. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to replace porch roofs. HARB recommended approving the replacement of the porch roof with the following recommendations. The existing overhang, crown molding, and built-in gutter system will be restored. This will include restoring the original drainage system by inserting tapered pieces to guide water to interior downspouts, lining the gutters with membrane or soft copper, and adding a 1-inch copper drip edge. The new standing seam metal roof will have seams no higher than 1 inch. Where the metal roof meets stone, The receptor will be covered with another piece of metal and will maintain the shadow lines of the standing seams. At the hip of the roof, a U-shaped slip joint should be installed that has the same look and height as the other standing seams.
Thank you, mouthful tonight. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second, any comments or questions from council on these COAs? Are any of the applicants present and would like to speak? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to follow the recommendation of the Historic Architectural Review Board and deny the following certificate of appropriateness. COA 2025-029, applicant Kevin Buckthorpe, 105 Center Avenue, residence. HARB made a recommendation to deny the application as presented with a recommendation that original wood siding be restored.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this COA? Is the applicant present and would like to speak? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Thank you. I see we do not have Chief Forsyth to give the fire report. Chief Sabbath is also unable to attend tonight, so Mr. Mayor.
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
And because I was not supposed to be here either, you guys were kind enough to take care of all of the special event applications and discussions at the work session, so I don't have anything else to add or speak of.
Okay, thank you. All right, Solicitor's report. Greg.
Not much to add, or nothing to add from the work session conversation, except on, I guess, 2 items of action that we'll take under the topics advanced from previous meetings. I have some comments to add during those considerations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Manager's report. Craig.
Okay, thank you. My primary activity since the last time we met has been working through the budget, which I'll be circulating out something in advance of a meeting next week on the budget. And I would just address the PICO activity in the borough briefly because of the public comments that there has been quite a bit of activity in the background from my office to manage as best as possible some of that work, even though we don't have direct control over it. It is controlled by the Public Utility Commission. They have been cooperative in making adjustments. I realize despite that, there's still a lot of poles laying around, and those are things, particularly where there's an access issue that you mentioned, that should be directed to my office, and we can work with specific things like that as a one-off. Penn Street signage that just went up recently, that will be adjusted late today. We were in contact with PICO. That activity will not be for 2 months. It will be closer to 2 weeks, and some revised access times and dates will be adjusted, and signage will be out there, I'm told tomorrow or the next day, so look for that. And one just item of heads up with the duplicate poles or redundant old poles that are out there, they could be there for quite some time. In general, there's some nuances to it, but the telecommunication wires that are the lower mid-level wires all need to get transferred to those new poles that are set out there. And it's mostly Verizon and Comcast. There could be other, but for the most part, that constitutes the majority of those wires. Until they are transferred, those poles will remain. And because there is such a backlog, literally thousands around the region, our poles just this season were installed. So we're behind a long backlog. There is, with that said, there is a beacon of hope in the state legislation. I think it's HB 885, don't hold me to the number, but there is a bill circulating around to put a timer on these things. Right now, there is no timer. It could go a very long time where there's no timer on when they need to transfer the wires and remove that old pole. So that's just some fact information about some of the activity with the pole and the gas work. And I'm more than happy to ever talk to anyone about specific issues or just an update on the timing and schedule and footprint of where projects are from time to time. So unless any.
Well, I was just going to add, I was just going to add, as we talked about briefly in your manager's report last week, Comcast is looking to get an easement in the borough for some work underneath one of our parking lots. So I would say that if that discussion furthers, we can maybe have them taking care of their wires and cables around town as a kind of bargaining chip to get that done.
I just wanted to add, if you don't mind, Craig, that Craig and I did discuss this issue earlier today, not anticipating that it would be a subject of public comment tonight, but we have already set some conversations in motion through our local government and municipal contacts to see if we can move the borough up the list a bit, particularly considering that this is a walkable community. And it certainly interrupts our pedestrian pathways more than some communities that are more spread out and don't utilize those sidewalks, or it doesn't interrupt those sidewalks as much. So Craig and I are working in concert to hopefully find a solution for this.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Craig. Okay, moving on to my report, which covers topics advanced from previous meetings. As always, these topics are discussed at length at our work session. These topics were discussed last week. The recording of that work session is available on our website calendar if you would like to listen to it. So I would entertain a motion to approve the ESCO release at Newtown Friends.
I would like to make a motion to approve an escrow release in the amount of $6,260 to Newtown Friends Meeting after all outstanding invoices have been paid.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion? Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on. I will entertain a motion to approve a change to the plans of court and state.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a change to the plans of Court and State Street LLC, allowing the elimination of an ornamental wrought iron fence on top of the brick wall.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion? Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to the fee schedule.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 1015-2025A, amending the fee schedule for food trucks.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion?
I was just going to mention on this for both council and the public's edification for when they're looking for the fees in the fee schedule, they are under the section related to soliciting and vending within the borough. So it's all in the one place where if you're looking to conduct business without a physical place of business in the borough, that's where all those fees are located in the fee schedule now.
Thank you for that clarification. Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 10-15-2025B, authorizing the borough to apply for a PICO Green Region Grant.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion? Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to the resolution for promotional banner for the Turkey Trot event. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 10-15-2025C, approving a promotional banner on Washington Avenue for the Thanksgiving Day Turkey Trot 5K in honor of Officer Brian S. Gregg.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion?
So I do, but I'm,
Well, I do think, I just to clarify, my only hesitancy with this is that is just the safety in general of the mounting of the banner. As long as it's done safely and we can probably verify that that's done in a safe manner, then I'm in support. I'm also in support of the banner because it is our first 5K for the Officer Brian S. Gregg 5K, the Turkey Trot, and I want to be in support of that. So I sort of feel like it's in between, but I don't think that this is necessarily a signal to set a precedence for this is how we're going to advertise 5K races in general in the borough, but maybe this one specifically because of our ties to the police department. That's my comment on this.
okay, so I wanted to start by saying I am definitely in support of the event, and I do believe it should be well advertised. I am concerned about having a banner stretching across Washington Avenue. Even Emily, as you had mentioned at the work session, this is crossing right at the location that was identified as at a crosswalk that takes you to a park, being Brian Gregg Park, actually. It's not a super visible crosswalk, so it is difficult to get people to stop for you when you want to use it. So there's one problem with that location. Secondly, I was looking at the resolution that we would have to pass, and in it, the borough is accepting all liability. This is like a standard resolution that that PennDOT requires. So it has the borough accepting all responsibility for installing, maintaining, and removing the banner, and also accepting all liability for any damage or injury to persons or properties that results. So I'm worried that this is opening up something that the borough may not wish to take on as a liability. If this banner should fall down in a windstorm into traffic and there's an accident, it would appear to me that the borough would then be liable. And so that causes me concern, and then leads me to the concern about a precedent. If we allow this banner, then how do we say to the next 5K that they can't have a banner? And then we run into the same problem with that. Is the borough wishing to accept liability for a banner for another event? And all these events are supporting really fine causes. So it can't be like, oh, well, we only do it for, charity runs, because they're all charity runs. And so I really worry about that. And those are my concerns. We had talked at the work session about a banner being the size that is actually permitted in our ordinance, which is only an 8-foot banner. This one's 26 feet long, I think. And so that, right, and an 8-foot banner would be kind of ridiculous going across a road. I would agree with that. But I'm wondering if this banner, even of the size that we could, council could allow, I guess, it is in our zoning ordinance, so I guess it's kind of difficult. But if this banner could be displayed, say, across the front of the fire company, because as viewable from on the Washington Avenue side, I wonder if that has been thought about. Anybody who's going to be driving under this banner on Washington Avenue in either direction will also be going in front of the firehouse. So the visibility of the banner will be the same. And people will not have to be driving and then looking up and saying, oh, well, what was that website, or when is that, or what day was that, and not paying attention to what's in the road in front of them. So those are my concerns about the banner.
Councilor Waldorf, if you don't mind, there are a couple things that I plan to bring up during this discussion for council's consideration. Based on the conversation at the work session, I do think it was mentioned if council would like to adopt this resolution, I would recommend that it has a condition that the event organizer provide the borough with an indemnity agreement for the liability that the borough is accepting with PennDOT to ensure that the borough is not ultimately responsible due to the fact that this is organized by a private organization. Even though it has community ties, since it is a for-profit organization, is my understanding that they provide an indemnity agreement that their insurance would cover any issues related to the banner if council chooses to adopt this resolution. The second is, after the conversation regarding the size of the banner or the particular language in the sign portion of the ordinance, we believe it is unclear to vague how that language is worded. However, the understanding of the size limitations are related specifically to a business sign that would otherwise be permitted. And I understand the look in response to that, because it's so, it certainly is something that I think we'd like to take a look at in the future in rewriting that section to make it more clear for both council and the public. But we believe that 8-foot size limitation does not apply to annual community event banners in the way that it is worded. It would not require additional relief on the sign, but it is still in council's purview, I think, to put a restriction on the size of that banner should they so choose in the adoption of this resolution.
So we could make it a little bit larger than 8 feet if we felt that would be necessary or helpful.
Absolutely, if you're so inclined to adopt this in any way, shape, or form.
I had one more question regarding the comment that I made about setting precedents, and I don't know, is there any, if we are allowing one organization to do a banner for the event, does that open it up to other, like, what is our ability to control that space? Or does it set a precedence that we can't backpedal from, in your opinion?
I do think it's similar to our conversation that we had about the banners on State Street last week. And Councilor Phillips, your comments about this being a particular event that has a relationship with the borough to the police department, and Brian Gregg and his role the role of his legacy in this borough, I think makes a distinction in similar to that input and counsel that we can provide on this. Based on the PennDOT regulations, there's certainly no precedent-setting requirements. Once we pass this resolution, it's limited to a particular banner. PennDOT's regulations allow us to do it as a one-off approval or an annual approval. So there's a lot of flexibility there. I don't think it sets a legal precedent. Whether it sets a community precedent or a council policy precedent is a different consideration.
Thank you.
Okay. I have one question. Greg, the way you just stated about having the event organizer handling responsibility or liability, does this resolution have to be rewritten, or how is that handled? Because that was my only issue with this particular resolution, was the fact, as Julia stated, that all of the liability is with the borough.
So the resolution has to be worded in a certain way for PennDOT's requirements to have a banner across a state
I understand,
road.
yeah.
However, I would recommend that the motion, if you're inclined to adopt the resolution, that the motion be amended to have it contingent upon the event organizer providing the borough with an indemnity agreement for those particular sections before this is released to PennDOT to permit the approval of the banner. So we would be we would be safeguarding the borough before this key to unlock the ability to fly the banner is given to the event organizer.
All right, thank you. You actually did state that. All right, thanks. That's perfect.
So I'm sorry. You're good? Okay. I did have one other question about banner content. So I'm remembering a while back with a Supreme Court ruling about whether you could regulate signs based on their content. So does that, are we still able to agree to some banners and not to other banners in this particular instance? Like if a group should come next year and say, well, we're doing a 5K to support, I don't know, reading. And we want to put a banner across Washington Avenue, and so then they present it to us. We can't really deny it based on what event is being advertised, can we?
I think that in this instance, the borough can choose who it partners with to fly a banner. I don't think we can start regulating the exact content for sure. But it's the PennDOT regulations specifically do not allow this to be used for pure commercial purposes. It's not advertising banners. It's very focused on community or municipal based applications. And that's why I think for these type of charity community events that the borough seeks to partner in by supporting the banner, it's not a regulation of third-party speech. It's a cooperative relationship, and that's why it's permissible to pick and choose which banners we permit to go across.
Okay.
We're down to the fine hairs at this point in this type of.
Well, I just worry because, we have many 5Ks. And they would, we have 5Ks, every time you turn around, we have another one. And so, and everybody would like to advertise. And if it's become the advertisement method of du jour is a banner across the road, then everyone will want to do it. So the question is, does that mean council is going to have to handle each one of these and be able to pick and choose? Do we have that ability, or are we going to find ourselves in trouble?
And I think it's a completely valid concern. As with the privilege of sitting next to the mayor, once a month I get to hear of all the 5Ks that are happening in Newtown Borough on a regular basis, and I think it's a valuable resource. As I mentioned, I think that the motivation that Councilor Phillips mentioned for partnering on this particular banner has a resonance in the intent here of approving this banner. But I think your concerns have validity to them, and I think it is completely appropriate to take that into consideration when considering this resolution.
Thank you.
So the resolution, that language that's required by PennDOT, number 5 says commercial advertising will be no more than 20% of the message. But, as we've talked about before with banners on State Street and everything, we don't really want to allow that. So in this, on top of having an indemnity agreement being part of, if we were to approve this being part of the approval process, I would want to have something in writing as well that there will be no commercial advertising on the banner.
And I think we can change number 5 to say no commercial advertising on the banner. I believe that where that is intended to, what that is intended to accommodate based on my reading of the PennDOT guidance is if you have some type of corporate sponsor for a community event that is included on the banner, but PennDOT in particular regulates it to no more than 20% of the message. So say you have, the turkey trot sponsored by McCaffrey's Markets, if you're listening. But I think that would be permissible under the PennDOT regulations as long as those corporate names do not take up any more than 20% of the banner. But I don't see any issue in the PennDOT regulations with council lowering that threshold or all the way down to the floor.
Yeah, I would want to see that happen because, as we discussed before, that can open up a can of worms.
Can I just ask a question? This event is really, it's a borough event, right? It's our police department that's holding it. Now, I know there's a private entity that's actually structured it and organized it, but it's for the borough police department in essence, right? So wouldn't that protect us going forward? Because most other events are, they come into the community, they're not owned by the borough, and they're a private company or a private organization or a nonprofit, but it's not a borough-related event.
And I think that is a fair way of rephrasing what Councilor Phillips started with, that there is a particular relationship for this one, that it is not a wholly outside organization coming in and doing, a race in the borough or an event in the borough. Like we do have some of those other organizations that come in, and there are so many, I can't remember which ones are operate that way. But I think that there is enough to say, based on those tests and the applicable standards, that this is distinct from those other ones because of that relationship with the borough and the police department.
Thank you.
I have a question for other counselors. Hearing that the 8-foot sign banner length may not necessarily apply to the signage, is anyone open to increasing the size of the banner from 8 feet to a little bit more than 8 feet?
Right now, I think the application still says 26 feet.
Six.
It's 30.
I do think it has to be bigger than 8 feet. I mean, that just wouldn't work.
I'd agree, but number
So
three.
I would be open to increasing it.
Yeah, it still says 26 feet.
Yeah, I mean, if the 8-foot thing is not applicable here, then if this were to pass, they can have the size they want as long as it fits where they want it to go.
Would we need to make an amendment to, given some of the things that we talked about, make an amendment to this motion?
Of course we would, but.
Or are we opening up to discussion from public?
No, we would need to make an amendment first. I just want to say that, given if we do the indemnity for 8 and 9, and that 5 becomes no commercial advertising, really my only, and this was my main concern from the beginning, was pedestrian safety in that crosswalk. Because as Julia mentioned, it is not easy to get cars to stop for you at that corner. And I don't know how I would feel if I let this banner go up and someone got hit in the crosswalk because someone was distracted by the sign. I wouldn't feel good. So that's my main thing. So you can, did you make the motion? I forget.
Gina did.
Gina made.
So you can amend, unless there's any additional comments or questions from council, you would amend your motion and then we'd take public comment and vote.
So my only other question, and I'm not sure that it got answered at the work session, was about whether, since this is being proposed to hang between utility poles, is there permission that's required from the utilities?
I believe Craig addressed that. Was that, I'm sorry, did the chief answer that one at the work session, that as long as you're not permanently attaching it, there's permission, there's general permission to tie things to utility poles?
I'm nodding my head that the chief did say that, but I actually don't know the detail, if that's a difference, permanent versus temporary tethering.
And I would say that ultimately those poles are the property of the particular utility, whether it's Verizon or PECO or another utility that operates those poles, and the applicant would have to have permission to erect the banner before they could go up. They don't have carte blanche just because they have PennDOT and borough approval to then essentially trespass on the private property.
So we should add that to the motion as well.
I think it's an inherent condition, but if you want to be explicit about it, there's no harm.
I think it's important. Okay. I know the time frame is short, but that's what we have.
Sure.
And I am to come up with this new motion?
Would you like me to help? Yeah. Okay. So I think the original motion was to adopt Resolution 1015-2025C, approving a promotional banner on Washington Avenue for the Thanksgiving Day Turkey Trot 5K in honor of Officer Brian S. Gregg, with the following amendments and conditions. That Section 3, do we come to a size? I'm sorry, I don't know if we.
We're fine with the original size, I
Okay.
think.
And
That's the
and
consent.
without Section 3, that Section 5 will be amended to reflect that no commercial advertising will be included on the banner, that the event organizer will provide the borough with an indemnity agreement for the borough's responsibilities listed in the resolution under Sections 8 and 9, and that the event organizer will provide the borough with proof of permission to utilize the proposed utility poles prior to the erection of the banner.
So moved. You just have to say
Got
so
it.
moved.
Just so moved.
You can just say so moved.
So moved.
In second.
Gail, can you? Oh,
I don't think that's me, but I can mute.
it's echo.
That's not me.
Yeah, I know. Something's going funky in here. That's Greg go playing through the speakers, and he's not speaking.
10-second delay.
Yeah.
So we had a so moved on that, right?
Yes.
In a second.
Okay, any additional comments or questions from council? I know the event organizer is here. Would you like to come up and say anything?
Hi, Carly Bovell. Just wanted to address the concerns. The first being, we will of course give a COI and indemnification insurance to the borough. We will not put any business advertising on there. The event is sponsored by a local business, but we will not put that on the banner at all. What else? We will get permission from PICO and PennDOT, so we're in agreement with all of those things. I do want to address the crosswalk issue. I don't, in my opinion, feel that it'll interfere with any driving. I drove up and down Washington Avenue. There are currently 68 signs on Washington Avenue for political or signs for buildings, signs for events. And to my knowledge, none of those signs have caused an accident. And they are near crosswalks as well as other locations. So I would have to disagree with it being a problem with the crosswalk. And if anything, people will stop to want to read the sign. But the sign is large enough so that's another reason. Like, we don't want to make it an 8-foot sign so that it's large enough so that you can read while you're driving down the street. But yes, we will comply with all those other conditions that you state. Was there any other concerns that I didn't address?
No, I had just mentioned last week, perhaps reaching out to the two residences on either of those corners and just letting them know that that's going to happen, just out of courtesy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to do so.
Great, thank you. Any questions from council for Carly, right?
Carly,
Carly.
yes.
Carly, who is going to scale the poles to hang this?
We are going to work with a signage company, actually local to.
Carly's going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, don't I look like I can scale a light bulb?
Just checking.
But we're going to work with somebody who actually has done the banners in Washington's Crossing for the Rev Run, as well as has worked with stuff in Yardley for also tying those banners onto the light bulbs.
Okay, great, thank
So
you.
they're going to install it, print the banner and install it for us so they know what they're doing.
Great, any other comments or questions from council? Any public comment on this motion? Tara, are you coming up to give public comment? Okay.
Oh, I'm done. Yeah. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Tara Grundy McLaughlin, Newtown Borough. I'm going to reiterate what I said last week and support Josh and the mayor in the comment regarding the fact that this is a police event run by our police department, something that they are doing, and that money that they are raising in memory of Officer Brian Gregg will go to an organization that helps other families in similar situations and provides them with tuition and other needs that they may have in the same way that Officer Gregg's son received it. And so this is sort of a paying forward and taking care of the other communities in the county who've suffered this serious loss. So I'm grateful for Boss Events and Carly and what they're doing. And I think that if we want to put this up as a borough event, we don't have to tell everybody else that they also get to do it. And I also want to support the idea that we don't have the advertisement on it, because then they can use it from year to year, regardless of whichever sponsors support them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tara. Any additional public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Yes, Chris is now here.
I'm finally here. I fixed my technical difficulties.
Okay. All right, so Chris, we are on the motion to authorize a decorative pole banner. I would entertain a motion from someone.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize a decorative pole and banner agreement with the Newtown Experience Group.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Julia, I'm going to open it up. I know you sent an email with a couple comments today, so go ahead and address those.
Okay, so I had a couple comments. The very first has to do with the second whereas clause that identifies Newtown Experience as a nonprofit business association. It is in fact a nonprofit corporation. So I'd like to have that wording changed to reflect what they actually are. So that was the first. And then,
just for clarity, we'll change that in the paragraph above as well then, if in.
yeah, okay, yeah, in both places to change it, to state that they're nonprofit corporation. And then my second comment was in section 3F, which is where the borough reserves the right to display banners of its own design and choosing during the term of this agreement. Currently, it says providing at least 60 days notice to the Newtown Experience, and I'm suggesting that that be changed to 30 days. Everything else in this agreement is 30 days.
I'm fine with both of those changes.
Same.
Thanks. So then the motion would have to be change to subject to revisions. Do we need to re-say it? No, okay. Subject to revisions, he said it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions from council? Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to the waiving of parking restrictions.
I'd like to make a motion to waive parking time limit restrictions in the business district on Thursdays through Sundays from Friday, November 28th through Wednesday, December 31st. Waiver does not include the 30-minute parking spaces.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. I'd just like to start off comments from council, as this is just a way to allow holiday shoppers to spend more time in our downtown business district, supporting our local businesses, buying for the holidays. They can spend longer because they don't have to move their car. All right, any additional comments or questions from council?
So in past years, how have we advertised that the 30-minute spots are still 30 minutes?
I mean, there's a sign there that says 30 minutes. We put this on our website. I don't know that we've done any other advertising besides putting it on the website.
That the other ones are okay, but not that.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to approve the change in sidewalk material at 35 South Chancellor. I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the change in sidewalk material to brick pavers as approved for the driveway at 35 South Chancellor Street.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion? I believe, is the applicant present? Would you like to say anything? Come on up. God, it's freezing in here all of a sudden.
CKS Engineers messaged me about the apron, the sidewalk, and then also mentioning the driveway material, which I thought you guys needed to also approve as well, according to what they emailed.
No.
Do you need to approve my driveway material?
No.
Okay. Well, then I have no more questions.
I had raised that question because we had old information from you. We were getting it in bits and pieces, like what was where, and as you know, there was the picture issue, and
Yeah.
we had, and because your drawing that your landscape design was from 2021, the question was this still what your plan was, even though we don't have to approve that material in that location? Now we know that your driveway is asphalt, your sidewalk is slate, and you have an apron already approved that is brick, and then you wanted to extend that brick across the sidewalk to meet up with your asphalt drive.
Correct.
Right.
Which is lined in cobblestone.
Yes, yeah, well, but and then of course your neighbor has concrete sidewalk.
Yes.
Yes, and then is there any, like, I'm thinking that your two driveways are like right next to each other, so there's really no.
In between.
Pardon?
There's a couple feet. in
So, and what material is that couple feet?
That's my well, up to my property, I have bluestone.
Okay.
And they have concrete.
So on either side of this brick that you would like to install across the sidewalk is bluestone?
Correct, that's my property.
All right, well, those were the questions that we had. That's why they were asked. Thank you.
It has taken since 2021 to get to this project.
Well,
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this motion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, so the next motion, Greg, I want to ask you a question. I'm not sure we can even entertain the motion, given that the application is incomplete and the last sentence says that this application will not be considered without a fully executed indemnity agreement attached. It's also missing a couple of other things that are required. So I'm just wondering, do we make the motion and discuss, or is it a non-starter?
Since it's on the agenda, I think a motion in one way or another should be made
Okay.
and discussed. But since I believe it is an incomplete application, unfortunately, and the application is specific that council will not act on it, or will not approve it, essentially, if it is incomplete without the necessary information to be present at the time of approval.
Right.
That it's more or less a foregone conclusion at this point.
And the timeline is for this Saturday.
Correct,
It's
yeah.
very close, so
And
I don't.
unfortunately, the motion to allow them to use the Borough Hall parking lot was contingent on this being approved, because we didn't want unlawful drinking in the parking lot, which, so, is Jen here? No. Okay, so,
I believe the language is specific that the insurance requirements and the insurance policy naming the borough as a additional insured must be provided. I do not believe that is provided.
Correct.
In this instance. And the certificate must be attached to the application. And I believe the language you're referencing is that this application will not be considered without a fully executed indemnity agreement attached, which we also do not have present.
Right.
So the entire purpose when this process was adopted 2 years ago, I believe, to permit this was to ensure both that the liability of the borough was protected, but also the safety of the public
right.
was ensured with these events, as they do, while they add something to the borough experience, they also provide a bit more liability for the public in general, and we wanted to make sure everybody was protected in that instance. So I don't think there's any purpose in tabling it based on this language. So I would say that we would properly consider the motion that this cannot move forward at this time.
Okay. Would anyone like to make such a motion or have additional comments before making such a motion?
So do you think that the applicant simply just because applications, sometimes you're not quite sure of the language, like they just didn't submit what they needed to finish submitting? Like it could just be a gap, like, oh, I meant to attach that to it. You know, I'm just saying, like, could we pass it in a way to which if we have that information by, you know, end of business day Friday, then we could move forward?
I think the problem is the way this is structured with the language of the application that includes an attestation that you've read the requirements and have provided everything in order to move forward, puts the borough in a difficult position, and then we could ultimately have an approval tonight and still be in limbo come Friday. If we were, in all honesty, I might have different advice if we had more time, or we had a work session, or the ability to come back to it after they have provided it. But I think the language of what the applicant has attested to is fairly clear.
Thanks, Craig.
And I also think it's fair to the event organizer that they know sooner rather than later that they can't use the Borough Hall parking lot. They need to be able to plan for that. Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
Wait, do we need to make a motion?
Greg?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve alcoholic beverage.
It would be to deny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to deny alcoholic beverage permit for the Borough lot at 23 North State Street by NR2F1 Foundation on 10/18/2025 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional comments or questions from council?
Can I just ask one question, just to be clear? I think I understood everything that was just said, but there's no way for them to go forward within this week to be able to use the borough parking lot. Is that the way I understand it? There's nothing they can do to remedy this.
You know, I think the way this is structured is, I think tonight was the ultimate deadline to provide the necessary documentation for council to consider it. I think that it's possible that it wouldn't have made the agenda had we had more time in between. If the documentation hadn't appeared 24 hours in advance, it would have been removed from the agenda.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I just
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say, of course, we are, it's unfortunate that this is where we are, because we love to support this event. We're happy to give them use of the Borough Hall parking lot, but our concern is if the alcohol permit is not in place, then there's still going to be drinking going on there, and that's not something we can control. So that's why the use of the Borough Hall parking lot was contingent on this application.
Right.
Any other questions or comments from council? Is there any public comment on this motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion is approved. And Craig, you'll let the event organizer know. Thanks. Okay, that's it from topics advanced from the previous meetings. Moving on to approval of minutes, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 16th, 2025 council meeting minutes.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to budget and finance and the consolidated expenditure report. I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll do it, Julia. I'd like to make a motion to accept, subject to audit, the consolidated expenditure report for the month of September totaling $295,561.25.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on the consolidated expenditure report? Any public comment on this motion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion passes. Okay, Gina, moving on to personnel.
Yes, we still have a few openings, particularly on the Civil Service Commission. We are looking for a recording secretary, if anybody is interested. Our Human Relations Commission, still looking for 3 members. And the Newtown Bucks Joint Municipal Authority has 1 member opening. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Julia Waldorf to the Newtown Bucks County Joint Municipal Authority for the remainder of a 5-year term through December 31st, 2026.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this motion?
I do. Anyone else? No, okay.
Yeah. I have a quick question. So this works in that if Julia gets the majority of votes, it moves on, or do we also do the other candidate and tally his votes also, or do we just do it, obviously, whoever? Do we do both, or do we just, is it a one and done?
Gail?
I'm just not familiar with how it works.
Yeah, there's a motion and a second to appoint a particular person. We go through the process on that particular person. If that vote fails, then a different motion can be made to appoint a different individual. So we go through, now that Julia has a motion and a second, we have discussion and comment and a vote on that, and then if that's not successful, then it moves on to any other candidate.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I know a couple of the residents had come up and spoke earlier, and I wasn't really expecting that, but I was thinking, when I started in this position, I thought volunteers are what make this community so great, right? We have people that are willing to step up and volunteer their time, and Julia obviously admirably has done it for many years. But if we have some individual in the community that's not part of a committee or part of council, and you have 1 or 2 people, I don't know how many you have that have put their hat in the ring, but other than Julia.
We had 3 and then 1
I saw
removed
that,
their
okay, so it came
application,
down to
2.
1,
Yeah.
all right. Why not give that individual the opportunity to volunteer and be a part of the community, right? That builds that culture of getting multiple people that live in the community with different points of view into the community's think tank, so to speak, and be able to convey how they feel, or maybe what their residents feel where they live, and just get a difference of opinion, just get a different side of something. So not that I think, Julie, obviously you would not be a qualified individual for it, but I think by adding more volunteers to the pool just makes us a stronger community. So I would ask that maybe take that into consideration. The meetings are public. All of us can attend them. It's not like they're secretive and we're trying to find out what's going on. I just think it would just benefit the community and drive the right message. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council on this motion?
I would like to say that I've been sort of thinking about the topic of having a counselor on the Joint Municipal Authority, and this term is through the end of December 31st, 2026. I think that this is, Julia is dedicated, and I have full faith that council will have, I guess, the representation and sort of the feedback that we've been looking for from the sewer authority, I guess, moving forward. So I also realize that we have other people who are sitting on the sewer board who are once on council. So they definitely understand the breadth of the service that's required to be up here. But I think in this position, given the fact that the township has had people their supervisors on the board. I think that this is a smart move for us to do. I'm not saying that if other positions come up and we want more, counselors on the sewer board, but I think in this case, we have an opportunity to place a counselor on the board for council to have accurate reports and updates.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with that only because what it sounds like to me is that you feel a volunteer in the community wouldn't do a good job, but someone on council would do a better job because they're more committed. And I think you're kind of judging that this individual could be committed, or she could want to do this, and this is something that they've been looking forward to. So, I mean, it's.
Excuse me, because I did see the resignation letter from the previous member. Is that date specific, or was it immediately?
It was immediately.
Okay, so we currently, so when there was the sewer authority meeting on Tuesday, we were down a member.
We were actually down 2 because one of our representatives, Mr. Walker, was not present.
I'm going to be voting on this for what I think is best for the borough right now. And
just want to make a point that we do have other opportunities, as I mentioned, for volunteers, and there tend to be openings that occur throughout the year. So we would love it if John were available possibly for another position should this vote go a certain way.
Any additional comments or questions from council? Any public
I'd just like to mention.
Go ahead.
Yeah, only that there are still 3 candidates, are there not?
no, I think there's just 2.
Just 2? Okay.
I didn't understand.
Well, so obviously I know John Dugan pretty well. I would have great faith in John to do a good job. So when I vote, it's got nothing to do with a concern about either of the candidates. However, I do believe that Julia, and knowing the detailed work that she does, would be an excellent choice at this time.
Thank you, Chris. Do we have any public comment on this motion?
I can be trained. Jonathan Guy, 110 South Congress Street. This is what I've been talking about. You have a willing volunteer who is an owner of an environmental services consultancy business, very well qualified, very motivated, and quite capable of doing this. And you can very well manage this by talking to him because he's a neighbor. Why on earth do we have to have Julia take on additional responsibilities instead of spreading this around the community and having a volunteer and showing to others that it's not all just inside baseball here, that you're not just adopting one of your own into a position for whatever reason. I heard the work session video, and I was like, you even kind of hinted that there might be a conflict of interest. I think it's just bad policy. And please reflect. I suspect you've all decided how you're going to vote before you came here, and I'm disappointed with that because I think you're passing up talent in favor of control, and that's a bad idea. Thank you.
So I want to, can I address your public comment? I was the one who said at the work session that, I've always thought that it was a conflict of interest, seeing that this Township Board of Supervisors. However, it's not, the reason why I was saying I had changed my mind in this instance is because we need someone that we know can get us the information from the sewer authority that we aren't getting right now. And people can say what they want, but the fact of the matter is we ask for information. We ask for regular updates at our meetings of what's going on. And with the proposed plant dangling. We need to know that information more now than ever, and we just need to make sure someone's on there that's giving us information. It has nothing to do with power or control. It just is, we need someone on there that we know we can trust to bring us information in an accurate and timely manner. That's how I view it.
I respect that, but Emily, I'm saying that you have a very well-qualified person, and if you're not capable of somehow giving guidance and receiving communication from this person, I think that's a reflection on you all. I think it's very weak to blame the existing board members because they're not giving you information that you require. I mean, that just sounds strange. We're a town of 2,500 odd people, and we can't talk to each other. You can't reach out. I find this really strange and very disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Courtney.
Courtney Lang, 102 Jefferson. I think there's an opportunity here that we can also consider that takes the best of both worlds. Being that both candidates are obviously willing to do this, would we be able to appoint the other volunteer and then also ask Julia to liaise with this and have insight from 2 additional people bringing us that information? Working in the energy industry, the environmental portion of this and the risk component with that is pretty extreme. And having his ability to comment and guide is a real resource. And I also know, Julia, you've worked so long on our environmental committee and you're incredibly dedicated to this community. And I think your presence on there is an asset to us as well. Is there any way that we could have both and structure this so there's a volunteer and a liaison, whether that means you're attending the meetings and being present there? One of the things with their meetings is they're a little haphazard. Yes, they have them posted, but they go into executive session all the time, and if a member of the public goes, you can sit around for hours waiting for them to open the door and let you in. And I've dealt with that. And there's also a number of other risks associated with that particular authority. And Julia, there's a lot of legal risks you'd be taking on as well, sitting on that authority. The way they do some of their billing and stuff, it's questionable. So I think we should spread our risk out here and take the opportunity to take both candidates in some way, shape, or form and look at another option here as well. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Courtney. I think I have this. My brain doesn't hold everything, but the Sewer Authority meets the second Tuesday of the month, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we technically have 2 more meetings because we have the special budget meeting next week and then the work session before that meeting if we were wanting to maybe table this and discuss more, because I hear what everyone's saying and I understand, and you know, this is not, like I said, I was adamantly against this before, just seeing what happened, you know, with the township supervisors being on the board and you know, so I would be willing to think about this further if any of my other cohorts would be as well. And I'd also like to be able to speak. Is John here? No.
Could I make a comment regarding that? The sewer board is very anxious to fill that position. They have trouble having a quorum. Their members are not always there. So they were very anxious. In fact, had I realized that there was a meeting yesterday, which I actually did attend, that I would have made council aware of this at our work sessions so that there could have been a vote to have another member to fill out their board, because they're missing, like I said, they're missing one member because someone resigned, and then we have a member who is out of the country. So it is crucial. I wouldn't put it off. I think the decision needs to be made.
Technically, we could. I mean,
well, you
before
could.
Before the next sewer authority meeting, the decision would be made.
You could do that for sure.
I'm just saying, I'm hearing what everyone is saying, and I'm open to discussing more.
So I'm hearing what everyone's saying. I think that Julia is a resident and she's equally just as qualified. and I think she has impeccable work ethic, and I would love to have Julia on the board, so I would love to keep the motion as is.
I would like to support.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Gail and
Yeah.
Chris, you're both talking at once.
All right.
Gail, you go first.
I would like to support Emily's motion to table it, or whatever the legal term is. I just think we should talk to John, and I agree that I think Julia would be great, and I don't think anyone thinks other than that. But I do think we should talk to John and see somebody with that technical background and see how he could approach it, and see if we could come up with a better alternative, like Courtney was saying. I don't know if that is even doable, but I think we should wait and discuss this a little bit more and try to speak to John in person, as opposed to just making a vote on someone we know, who is great. Julia, don't get me wrong. I think she'd be fantastic.
Okay, Chris, your turn.
I have no objection to tabling.
Well, as president, I should not make the motion to table. I was just raising the question. So if someone wants to table, they would have to make the motion.
Okay.
So I
would
would
like
to table this motion.
Okay, Chris, I have you as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
It's an immediate vote.
I'm sorry?
It's an immediate vote.
Yeah, so I would just say all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
Table passes. Thank you, everybody.
Table, and just to be clear, we have the standing optional meeting.
Yes, we
which
have
you're
our.
holding the budget meeting.
We are
but it
holding the
hasn't
budget
been
meeting next week.
separately advertised as just a budget meeting. It's still under our regular advertisement as a voting meeting as well, and then we can always vote at the work session as well.
Right.
So we have two. I just wanted to be clear for everybody, there are still two more options to get this done.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Gina and personnel. Any old business from council? Any announcements?
I have one. Here's a bit of information from the sewer board that our representative did not give us when he spoke earlier. The sewer board has decided to record their meetings and post them on YouTube the next day. They are not live stream as this meeting is. They will record the active session, not the executive session, and then post it on their YouTube channel the following day. And that will become effective with their meeting next month.
Thank you, Julia. Any other announcements? Any public to be heard? Okay, well then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Thanks, everyone.